live from TKDS Sports Studios. Sports news, sports events, and more. This is TKDS Live. And now, to the TKDS Studios and your host, Jackson and Matt for the Sports Now Update Show.
Hello, rise and shine. It is football time. Jackson Lightcap here. I'm joined with Jonathan Snyder as we welcome you to Week 8 Friday night recap show. A lot to talk about in this 3-hour show. John, you may recognize he's at the same place as always. I'm a little bit different. I'm out of the office today. In fact, I am preparing to call the Central State versus Morehouse College game later on today. It will kick off at 1 o'clock. It's homecoming, so got here early, got set up, and was able to sneak off away from the crew to be able to hop on the show. So, John, it's going to be a busy couple of hours. I know you're only here for the first 2 hours or so, but looking forward to it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm here for the first 2. I've got some other commitments I've got to make this early morning, but I'll tell you what, it's fun time to be here. It looks a little special live edition for you, so it should be a fun show, definitely.
It's definitely going to be a fun show. A couple of housekeeping notes here before we kind of get into talking about the Week 8 high school football. This right here is not bird poop. It is chip paint. So just mind you, I would not be putting bird poop on the show. It's chip paint. The view I have right now is amazing. I have a beautiful look at McPherson Stadium. I have a beautiful look right now of the football field. We're here in just a couple of hours. The Marauders are going to be taking. We're expecting a sellout crowd here at Central State University. John, I was here yesterday for the Hall of Fame event. The class of 2025 got inducted here to the Central State Hall of Fame. We had our live show yesterday, the Gold Standard. And let me just tell you, right behind this wall, there are vendors lined up and down a street. You would have never guessed that this is going to be a college football game, a Division II college football game. You would think that this is a sauerkraut or Oktoberfest festival. It is the atmosphere here surrounding Central State over the past 24 hours, at least that I've been here, has been absolutely incredible. Again, vendors lined up, a bunch of people coming back, having their own class reunions. We're expecting a sellout crowd and then just standing room only. And for those of you who know McPherson Stadium at Central State, it's not a small stadium either, so that's certainly saying something as the Marauders are going to go for their 3rd consecutive win. So, John, I'm looking forward to calling this one. I'll be joined with Corey Owens, a former Central State defensive back coach, later on today, and former NFL linebacker, Ohio State Buckeye Curtis Grant, and then Tiana Bryan will be our sideline reporter. So we're looking forward to this. We have a good multi-personnel crew for this game. It's going to be fun, and we'll be live at 12:45, kicking off the game at 1 o'clock.
Sounds like a really, really great time. And glad to hear that Central State has got that atmosphere going into today. Hey, sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. And something that I never that when I was in college down in Ohio, unfortunately, never really got either the chance or never took the opportunity to take advantage and go to one of those Central State atmosphere games. And it's real, and like you mentioned, that their stadium is not small. Their stadium is not small. I've driven past it a couple of times, and it looks like it can get it to be a madhouse. And hopefully it turns into that. Out of just for whatever reason. It's always a lot more fun when you've got that atmosphere. And from what you've said, it looks like just all sorts of vendors, all sorts of people here. Feels like it's gonna be a lot of fun. What type of and any food that's right there that you're tempted to get early in this 8:07 in the morning right now?
I don't know. I haven't seen any particular breakfast food. I walked the vendors in the street yesterday, John, and they had some good burgers and brats, but that's at every festival. That's at every homecoming. I'm not a big fan of seafood, but they had like a shrimp bar. It was underneath a tent, and it was like a good 20 by 20 tent. It wasn't your typical 10 by 10. And they were just grilling and frying shrimp, throwing it in buckets, and scooping them out and selling it. And I walked by there, and I was like, I'm not a seafood guy, but this smells incredible, so I might have to take a trip there later on.
Oh yeah, shrimp bars can be pretty undervalued if I'm going to be honest. Sometimes you get, trust me, sometimes you just get some great shrimp from there.
The
And it's
only
amazing.
The only bad thing, I talked about the wonderful view. I got a great view of the campus right here. Sooner or later during the show, I'm going to have to flip the camera and show you guys what I'm getting to look at the show. But the only downside of this is the sun is rising right in my face right now. So I've got to wait about an hour before I'll basically be able to look at the camera because it is scorching right now.
I did notice that. I saw I saw your shadow basically directly behind you, and it's like there's just light that's just shot. The light's just like it's like I can't help but feel bad for you because
It's
unfortunately
right
the
at
way
the camera.
Unfortunately, the way my monitor's set up, I've got like a little screen preview. Actually, I could probably turn that off, so I can't really see your face at the moment. But it's really fun. It's probably really fun. Yeah, it's definitely some squintage going on there.
A lot of squintage. I wait about an hour, I'll be okay. John, we have a busy show coming up today as well. We're live until 11. In fact, John, you and I are going to be flying through the first 2 hours of the show together. We're going to be talking about the scores from last night, a lot of playoff updates. We're going to be taking a look at the Joe Idle playoff points between 9:30 and 9:45. We're also going to be talking about your conference championships as well because there's a lot that's lining up heading in to week number 9 as well. And then, John, not only that, but a couple guests coming on at 10 o'clock. We'll be joined with Ken Keller from WPKO, and we'll also be joined with Jimmie Bell from a TKDS analyst, our Columbus crew, at 10:30. And we have a pre-recorded interview with Fairmont Firebirds head coach Dave Miller at 10:45. We're going to be playing. That's going to be the time that I'm going to shift aside and start getting prepped for the Central State game. John, you're going to be off. You have some work to do later on as well. So we're going to be playing that from 10:45 to 11 to wrap up the show.
Sounds great. Hey, and definitely a lot to look forward to in terms of playoff picture as well. Oh, we had some great games last night. Had some games that will obviously mean a lot to everybody's chances. In particular, I'm looking at a couple out of the CBC that's gonna have some pretty significant impact. There's a couple from the GWalk, obviously, that's going to be huge to look into. So, we've definitely got a lot to look at, and we're going to be these playoff points are going to be. Trust me, they're already complex enough. Like I mentioned last week, it feels like you need a conspiracy board to kind of keep up with all the moving parts here for sure. But definitely a week to look forward to, and definitely a couple of we've got 2 more weeks to determine how this is going to play out. So there's a lot of football left to be played and some really good matchups in these final 2 weeks that are going to determine a lot because you've got some big rivalries. You've got some conference championships being decided in these last 2 weeks. So, if there's any time to look into the Southwest region of Ohio, no matter what division, it's going to be now. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
John, let's take a look first off and foremost at our Thursday night games. Belmont blanks Thurgood Marshall 44-0. Cincinnati College Prep Academy blanking Schroeder 36-0. Preble Shawnee and Tri-County North, that game was our TKDS Thursday night football game of the week. We're talking about that game here in just a minute as Shawnee won that one 52-20. And then Beechcroft ends up beating over Stivers 41-8. John, I was at that game, Tri-County North and Preble Shawnee. I was blessed enough to be able to call that on Thursday night with WOAC Commissioner Frank Carr. And that game, you look at the score, it doesn't show you how good Tri-County North actually played in that game. Tri-County North, they're 2-6 this season. They have not put together the great year. But out of about 25 guys, you could tell that they were definitely banged up on the sideline, didn't have some of the players that were in. Only 6 seniors on that team as well. This is going to be a team to watch out for later on in the WOAC. I'm not saying they're going to get to the point with Preble Shawnee and Tri-Village, but when you look at how many sophomores and juniors they had that will be returning next year, it's going to be the future's bright for Tri-County North.
Yeah, we talked about them. I think I remember talking about them a little bit last year. They started out in 2023. I remember they started out like 3-2 and got a couple of solid conference during that year. And for unfortunately this year, a lot of it just hasn't really gone their way. But these last couple of games, they've managed to turn it around and look pretty decent against some solid opponents. National Trail was a 18-point loss, and like you mentioned, this one, I know the scoreline says 52-20, but again, there's a lot that went into that loss, and it does. The scoreline is not very kind to the actual game itself and what Tri-County North did, and so I can understand and the point made there, Eric. But again, a couple of wins this year for Tri-County North already against Bradford and Dixie, and you look at the first half of their season, especially let's highlight that a little bit, because you look at a 2-6 record. The first 4 games were an absolute buzzsaw for pretty much any team, no matter what their standing is. You got week 1 at Brookville, week 2 against Arcanum, week 3 at Tri-Village, and week 4 against Ansonia. So those first 3 games alone, the way this year has gone on, was practically a buzzsaw. So it's definitely a record that is not very kind to Tri-County North, and hopefully that these next couple of games can be a nice cap off to a season for the Panthers that you could say is definitely a lot better than the 2-6 record that they've gotten so far.
John, I'm sorry. I had to do it. I cannot deal with that sun anymore. The sunglasses have to come on for at least a little bit. Give me about 30 minutes or so. That sun will be high enough up, and I'll be able to take them off and get back to that professionalism that we're supposed to have. So I apologize for my bosses at TKDS Sports, but the sunglasses have to go on. It's just unbearable here. As soon as the show started, for sure. As soon as that show started, that sun in the east went right above the away side bleachers and stands, and it was, give me 30 minutes, and that's all I need. We're going to take a break anyway. We're going to step aside. When we come back, we're talking about the MAC. What a thriller last night between Anna and Marion Local. That game we're talking about and more. It's all coming up next on the Friday Night Recap Show.
I'm Kirk Herbstreit, and today I'm eating Raising Cane's.
Herbstreit's in the drive-thru again.
Oh, hey, Kirk. What can I get you today?
I want a solid bench of 4 chicken fingers that are real difference makers. Crinkle cut fries with dynamic ridge patterns, Texas toast, and cane sauce with an air of smugness that comes from knowing you're the best. Now back to you, Todd.
So the usual.
Make Raising Cane's part of your game day lineup. One love.
Central State University is home.
We on the way. Time, who I'm gonna be when I'm in the limelight, shining in the dark like I was a nightlight. It's my time, yeah. I went from the back to front, last to one, future looking magnanimous. We on the way, no doubt. We on the way, no doubt.
For God,
for Central, for State.
When life gets messy, make it sweet. Only Dirty Dough delivers maximum flavor from the inside-out layers, mix-ins, and gooey fillings. No filters, no fuss, just real cookies for real life. Every week, a rotating lineup of handcrafted flavors. Join the loyalty program, earn points on every purchase, redeem for free cookies, and get a cookie on your birthday. Dirty Dough, it's what's inside that counts.
Looking for future leaders we can believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Ohio. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It includes learning to listen, accepting responsibility, being a good role model, and it's about respect. The result, it transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
And now, to the TKDS studios and your host, Jackson and Matt, for the Sports Now Update Show.
Jackson Lightcap alongside Jonathan Snyder outside here at Central State University as I'm battling the sun. John, I hope the room, the indoors is nice. Me personally, I love being outside, so no harm, no foul here. As we're continuing on with the Friday night recap show, let's get into some Friday night scores. Let's start with the Midwest Athletic Conference. Minster over Versailles 14-12. New Bremen beats Coldwater 16-7. St. Henry blanks St. John's 41-0. Fort Recovery over Parkway 41-27. Marion Local has avoided defeat now 2 times in the last 3 weeks. This is a team that has a 72-game winning streak. It's the longest now it's the longest in the entire United States. They were back and forth yesterday with Anna and the Rockets. It was 28-27 in favor of Marion Local in double overtime. Anna scored a touchdown, went to go for 2 to try to win it. They came up short, and Marion Local continuing to survive and advance, keeping the winning streak alive.
Yeah, it's I remember seeing a couple of people online saying that you have to remember this was meant to be Marion Local's weaker team. This was meant to be the team with all the freshmen, or well, maybe not so much freshmen, but a team with a lot of underclassmen, a team with a lot of younger guys that are being plugged into a system and are taking over for a senior group that has not lost at the high school level. So, and I remember a couple of people saying, if this is their weak team, then we could be in for a lot more trouble than we think. But regardless, still an incredible game. Anna, shout out to Anna. Anna, obviously a very tough team throughout this year. They've had a lot of really impressive performances. Again, they were another one of the teams when you looked at the MAC. If there was anyone that Marion Local would get tripped up against, Anna was definitely a threat. But Marion Local did just enough to get past them, and now really the only significant hurdle that I can see in their schedule is against Coldwater. But Coldwater 4-2 in the MAC this year, 5-3 overall record behind St. Henry this year. So really a rather interesting look into, first off, great season by St. Henry. Normally you don't see them up in the second place spot in the MAC, but definitely a Marion Local team and a Coldwater team that is going to be a very, very, very it's a high profile matchup in general. But with this recent Coldwater performance, a 16-7 loss to New Bremen, you don't really often see Coldwater get tripped up at the middle of the season like this. Not to a New Bremen squad, but still, that makes this Coldwater Marion Local game, it adds another wrinkle to it. And I know it's 2 weeks from now. I'm talking like it's next week's matchup, but it's 2 weeks from now. And it's going to be an incredibly fun contest this year. You see Marion Local in these close games, and you think, is it going to happen? To me, they've got one game that, definitely Minster could play a surprise. Minster's 4-2 in the conference right now. Minster could play a surprise, but that Coldwater game is going to be even more. It's going to have even more eyes on it than it normally does. So really looking forward to that one.
And John, just also keep in mind that, yes, Coldwater, maybe it's a down year for them, but for some odd reason, they, even during this long winning streak for Marion Local, have always played they've always played Marion Local really, really well. The closest games that we've seen Marion Local play, maybe it's still a running clock and a clock game, but it's still been provided by Coldwater. That's the rivalry. They meet in Week 10, so that'll be interesting to see how that'll shape up. In the Western Ohio Athletic Conference, Arcanum over Mississinawa Valley, 42-7. That is a huge game. We talked about the playoff implications for that game last week on this show. If you're Arcanum, as of going into last night, you were the 11 seed playing a Division 7 team who basically, if that Division 7 team beat you, now they're in the playoffs with 2 weeks left to go in the season, and you would have been taking a huge hit because you lost to a team 2 divisions lower than you. That win is huge for Arcanum, keeping their hopes alive. Mississinawa Valley is going to have to do a lot to now find themselves getting into the playoffs. And Sonia blanks Dixie 64-0. Tri-Village over Bradford 60-0. National Trail beats Twin Valley South 28-7. It all comes down to the conference championship next week in Week 9. It's Preble Shawnee and Tri-Village.
Yeah, and that's going to be another high-profile matchup, which is going to be a really, really fun watch. Tri-Village and Preble Shawnee have both been incredible this year. Tri-Village's defense has just been on a completely different level this year. The biggest, the most amount of points they've given up to a team is 22, and that's against Ansonia, who's again a really solid WOAC squad. So that's one of those matchups where you're just really, really looking forward to seeing how that one goes, especially since another part of this deal, Preble Shawnee is currently a sixth in Region 20 in seeding. So if they win this one, and especially if they win this one soundly, which I don't think will happen, I think we're obviously going to get a very close game. But if they win this by a good margin, you almost have to wonder if because North College Hill is a team that we don't often see up in the top 4 spots. And credit to them for having a great season so far. They've definitely deserved it. But North College Hill, you have to think there's a genuine risk that they could be dropping a bit should they lose to Cincinnati Country Day. Hey, they're taking on them a couple of weeks from now. So you have to think if that goes Preble Shawnee's way, you have to wonder if they could sneak into a bye spot if they manage to pull off this Tri-Village win. It's a good amount of points to make up, but I think it's very well possible, especially if Preble Shawnee makes this a wider game than I think it will be. But all that to say, I do think this one's going to be very close.
One thing I'm super excited about seeing as well in this game is you're going to see the number 1 and the number 2 passer, the number 1 and number 2 quarterback in this conference. Trey Sagaster entering last night with just shy of 1,600 yards. Morton now moves up to second. He was third heading into his Thursday night game, and after all the games shaked up yesterday, he moves into second with the most passing yards in the conference at 942. Morton's also the third leading rusher in the conference as well. This is a kid that has 30 total touchdowns compared to just 1 total turnover. It was a fumble. He has not thrown an interception. This guy takes care of the football. He makes smart decisions. And not only that, but we're also going to see the number 1 and number 2 receivers in the conference, and Griffin Richards and Caleb Blankenship going head-to-head on next Friday night as well. Luckily for us, that WOAC championship will be the TKDS WOAC game of the week, so we'll have it live here on the TKDS Sports Network. And then, John, you talked about the defenses, both teams providing great defenses this season. That Tri-Village offense, yes, you talk about the defense. Yes, you talk about how great that defense is. Going into even after last night, through 8 games, they've only allowed 59 total points. 59 total points they've allowed all season long. You do the math. I mean, that's less than 8 points per game this season. But the offense as well, going into last night, had 404 points. This is a team that also put up 60 points last night, so 464 points total this season. This Tri-Village team is legit. They are the real deal. Preble Shawnee, who's won this matchup the past couple of years and who have been crowned WOAC champs the past couple of years, they're certainly going to have their hands full come Friday night against Tri-Village. So it's going to be an exciting game. John, let's move into the TRC in the Three Rivers Conference. Lehman Catholic beats Bethel 48-27. Covington over Northridge in a close one, 27-24. Miami East continuing their dominance this season in the Three Rivers Conference, beating Milton Union 31-7, and Riverside blanking Troy Christian, annihilating them 34-0 in a clock game.
Yeah, I think this one was kind of a week where we were all waiting for we're just, definitely great matchups this week, but we're kind of looking earlier and next to the final 2 weeks of the year. I remember mentioning Miami East and Covington still, or actually no, not Covington, and Riverside still needing to play each other, and that'll be a week 10 matchup. So looking at a lot of these games, some pretty solid performances. Covington over Northridge being the close one. Miami East doing Miami East things. Riverside, it seems a lot more business as usual for the TRC throughout this week. But this next week in particular, Riverside and Lehman Catholic, that's going to be a game that determines who will likely be taking that second spot in the conference should Miami East win out. Obviously, Miami East and actually that's Riverside. Never mind. My brain is not exactly, all within its facilities here. I stayed up really, really late last night for a reason that I do not want to get into. It's baseball related. I'll just say that. So, regardless of that, that Covington Lehman Catholic game is going to be really, really, really big to determine that second place spot in the conference, and especially again for playoff seeding, like you mentioned. So it should be a very fun one in that week 10 game, and which is a couple weeks from now, but still we could look forward to it.
We're going to take a small break. When we return, we'll move into the Central Buckeye Conference, the OHC, the DPS, and the MVL. That's all coming up next here on the Friday Night Recap Show.
This game just got bigger.
That's how we do it, fellas.
And better.
The energy is contagious.
Because we're back.
It's still a party here on HBCU Go.
And this season, it's about the grit.
Unbelievable.
The glory.
This conference is anybody's to take.
And the clash of champions.
Every game is our championship game.
The 2025 HBCU Go football season is coming this fall. Only on HBCU Go.
In life, things aren't scripted.
If you're an athlete, we need people like you and translate those skills to officiating.
You can get a lot out of it.
It happens in every town, in every game.
We never have a perfect game, but the rewards always outweigh the negativities.
When every second counts and every drop matters, you don't settle for ordinary. You power up with Power Mist Racing Fuels. Trusted by champions, engineered for victory. From drag strips to dirt tracks, Power Mist delivers explosive performance, cleaner burns, and unmatched horsepower. Nitro, alcohol, methanol, gasoline blends. Whatever you race, we've got the fuel to ignite your edge. Power Mist Racing Fuels. Born to burn, built to win.
Looking to elevate your brand with quality custom printing? Red Ball Specialty Printing in Springfield, Ohio. Family owned and dedicated to attention, quality, and service. We customize everything from shirts, drinkware, pens, awards, and more. Whether 50 pieces or 5,000, we deliver color crisp, branding brilliant. From promotional apparel to recognition awards, we're your one-stop for impactful merchandise. Visit rbspdesignschipley.com or call 937-215-0740 today. Red Ball, you think it, they ink it.
The year was 1907. The Cubs won the World Series and the Ford Model R hit the assembly line. While here in Ohio, school administrators came together to form the Ohio High School Athletic Association. One thing that hasn't changed since 1907 is the dedication of the OHSAA to education-based athletics in Ohio. School sports teach responsibility, sportsmanship, and life lessons that stay with students long after their playing days are over. The OHSAA seeks to prepare students not for the next level of sport, but for the next level of life.
And now, to the TKDS studios and your host, Jackson and Matt for the Sports Now Update Show.
John, we're just a couple minutes away from that sun finally getting up, risen enough so I could take off these sunglasses. But we welcome you back to the Friday Night Recap Show, where it's all sponsored by Red Ball Specialty Printing. Visit them off Deer Road in Springfield, Ohio, for all your specialty printing needs, novelties, custom apparel, T-shirts, and more. Dirty Dough, the Powell location in Columbus. It's what's inside that counts. Now serving breakfast items such as waffle bites and cinnamon rolls. So make sure to go show them some love off Sawmill Parkway. And Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. One love for some of the best chicken in town. John, into the Central Buckeye Conference. Indian Lake just able to out-edge Benjamin Logan. That game's a big rivalry matchup. Indian Lake takes the 2025 match 17-14. North Union over Northwestern 28-20. Another big win for North Union. Northwestern now starting to teeter-totter, being a playoff team. Back-to-back losses in back-to-back weeks against Graham and now North Union certainly does not help them. Graham beats Shawnee 42-7. Bellefontaine over Tecumseh 34-28. Urbana beats Kenton Ridge 28-21. Here come the Hill Climbers, back-to-back games where they've looked well. They've gotten healthy on the defensive side of the ball, and the Hill Climbers get a nice win over Kenton Ridge. And then the game that basically decided the conference, it was London who shut out Jonathan Alder 38-0. London will more than likely now go on to win the CBC. Jonathan Alder plays at Kenton Ridge next week.
Yeah, and a big matchup for, well, obviously that conference matchup is pretty massive there. But Urbana and Kenton Ridge, like you mentioned, Urbana has gotten some massive it has gotten some improvements on the defensive side of the ball and have looked really solid these past couple of weeks. I know the record does not very kind to them being a 2-6 squad at this point, but the defense has suddenly managed to flip a switch and turn it around. So give credit to where it is due to the Hill Climbers for sure. You mentioned Kenton Ridge again. And that one being a pretty significant loss for them. Northwestern was another team that you mentioned. That now they're kind of on the precipice of bowing out. Well, maybe not bowing out of the playoffs, but still being a team that's right on that edge between playoff contention and being out entirely. They're right now in the 16th seed with Eaton chasing behind them. So, really important couple of games, especially for Northwestern, who is playing Benjamin Logan and Indian Lake. Both teams that have been solid this year. Benjamin Logan currently sitting at 3. They're 3-5, but still a very competitive 3-5 team. And Indian Lake now at 6-2. That's going to be a massive matchup for Northwestern in general. So Northwestern's going to need to find an extra gear over these next couple of weeks. It's going to be a and Eaton has got to be licking their chops right now. And you'll have to forgive me because I just realized I've been talking as if there's 16 teams seeded. I've been doing this for a few years now, so you'll have to forgive me for thinking the 16. For being under the 16-team format. So Northwestern has a lot to do in order to get back into playoff contention. Urbana is also really, really close, if I'm going to be honest. Urbana is only like a half a point out from the calculation that we have. And Urbana's got Bellefontaine and Tecumseh, two very winnable games. So Urbana's looking on a charge. So we could definitely be seeing Urbana's charge to the playoff in general. So that's another part to look out for in the CBC.
And the reinforcements have come. We talked to WPKO's Ken Keller last week. He'll be joining us at 10 o'clock today. The reinforcements have come for Urbana. And this is a team that is now looking to make a late season push. They had goals and expectations to possibly come in and battle within their division and finish in the top half of the conference. Unfortunately, that has not happened this season for Urbana. But it doesn't mean it's a lost season, because this is a team that even if they sneak in as the 12 seed, if I'm a 4 seed, I don't want to play a healthy Urbana squad. And that's what it's shaping up to be. So the Hill Climbers making a case to possibly be that Cinderella run if they can back their way in to the OHSA postseason. As for Northwestern, keep in mind last year they held the final playoff spot as the 16 seed, lost to Indian Lake in week 9, and that's what booted them out and eliminated them. So a couple big games coming up for Northwestern in the OHC. Northeastern beats Fairbanks 47-13. Greenon over Catholic Central, and what an incredible game, 21-19. We saw it live here on the TKDS Sports Network. Madison Plains beats Cedarville 40-30. Greenview over Southeastern 32-0. West Liberty Salem beats Triad 42-7, and Mechanicsburg ends up taking down West Jefferson. Mechanicsburg now in the driver's seat for the Ohio Heritage Conference.
Not just the Ohio Heritage Conference, but the entirety of Region 24. They've put themselves in the top spot in that region. So a massive win for Mechanicsburg against West Jefferson. That was one that I was really teeter-tottering on. I know that was a game pick last week, so I was teeter-tottering back and forth on that one. One was so tempted to pick Mechanicsburg. Should have pulled the trigger on that one. But a really, really solid performance from Mechanicsburg on that one, that game, especially with that essentially deciding the North Division in the Ohio Heritage Conference. So a massive win there. Other team that I'm really looking at, especially with a couple of different, and you'll have to forgive me for being again scatterbrained here, but. A couple of massive performances, especially from, like you said, Mechanicsburg. Greenon, another great win for them, and that gets them a little bit more breathing space near the top of the South Division. Greenview, who another massive win there, because you've got. I mean, they're going to be that South Division. Enon and Greenview, they play each other next week, so. That's going to be another high-profile matchup that we need to look into, especially with the way Greenon's been rolling these past couple of weeks. You're talking 3 straight wins for those guys. As Greenview as well, 3 straight wins. But Greenon's been looking, I would say, a little bit better in those wins. A 34-0 win, 54-22, and then of course this most recent one that was a little bit closer, but still 21-19 against the Catholic Central squad. So. Really, really, really looking forward to that next week's matchup. Greenon and Greenview, who to decide the South Division of that conference.
In the DPS, we have Northwest over Dunbar 48-35. Meadowdale over Ponance 50-8. Meadowdale and Dunbar, the only 2 undefeated teams within conference. They will meet in Week 10. For the DPS title. Meadowdale looking for back-to-back titles. Dunbar looking to get there for the first time since 2023. In the Southwestern Buckeye League, we saw Bellbrook take down Monroe 10-0. Brookville over Eaton 29-28 in overtime. What an incredible game that was. Could have been an upset. Eaton has not put together the season that they would have liked to this year, but Brookville still unbeaten. Carlisle over Oakwood 43-21 or 53-21. Valley View beats Edgewood 28-21. Another close one for one of the top teams in the conference. Waynesville over Middletown Madison 28-8. Franklin beats Ross 21-14. John, we will have more than likely the Southwestern Buckeye League Championship next week, which will be Brookville at Valley View. John, you there? Looks like we are having some technical difficulties with John.
I'm back.
There you go.
Yep. I had to get a little switch itch there. For some reason, my Wi-Fi was not wanting to cooperate with me for a bit. But we're talking SWBL, from what I remember. These last couple days, or these last couple of minutes that you've been talking. Brookville and Eaton, great game there. 29-28 overtime win. And another one, and I'll tell you what, another one, Franklin again, 21-14 win in that Southwestern Division, a team that you don't normally expect to be up there, but still a very solid season so far for Franklin, and a very much a Southwestern Division contender in that conference. So with their game, they've got Edgewood coming up. Brookville will be an interesting one. I don't think they get that one. I think Brookville is still too much of a threat to ignore. But Franklin and Edgewood, but in a game that could definitely decide a lot within that Southwestern Division. So looking forward to how that one's going to turn out. Carlisle, Oakwood, a massive win for Carlisle as well. Just looking for there it is. Valley View and Edgewood. But Valley View still rolling. They get Brookville next week. The game that'll more than likely decide the conference. And both teams looking really, really solid so far. Are again Brookville surviving Eaton this past week. So maybe a bit of a scare there. Again, could be overblowing it, but maybe a bit of a scare there for the Blue Devils as Valley View took care of Edgewood. Again, that was a pretty close game too. 28-21 for the Spartans, but that one's going to be a massive matchup. Looking forward to seeing those two teams play. And especially seeing how Brookville's rushing attack goes for that one. Brookville's got the first and third best rushers in the entire conference. It's DJ Moore with 722, Jake Lesnar with 695 on the ground. So gonna see how how Valley View can respond to a very significant duo in the backfield for Brookville. That's going to be key in that matchup.
Yeah, John, we're going to take a small break. When we return, we'll talk about the Miami Valley League and the G-Walk. It's all coming up next here on the Friday Night Recap Show.
Looking to elevate your brand with quality custom printing? Red Ball Specialty Printing in Springfield, Ohio. Family owned and dedicated to attention, quality, and service. We customize everything from shirts, drinkware, pens, awards, and more. Whether 50 pieces or 5,000, we deliver color crisp, branding brilliant. From promotional apparel to recognition awards, we're your one stop for impactful merchandise. Visit rbspdesignschipley.com or call 937-215-0740 today. Red Ball, you think it, they ink it.
In communities where leaders are forged and legacies are born, the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference proudly celebrates the accomplishments of current and former students. From the playing field to the boardroom, they are the next generation of entrepreneurs, doctors, and executives.
Leaders rise here. Leaders rise here.
Leaders rise here.
Leaders rise here.
Looking for future leaders we can believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Ohio. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It includes learning to listen, accepting responsibility, being a good role model, and it's about respect. The result, it transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Central State University is home.
We on the way. Yeah, it's my time. Who I'm gonna be when I'm in the limelight. Shining in the dark like I was a nightlight. It's my time, yeah. I went from the back to front, last to one. Future looking magnanimous. We on the way, know that. We on the way, know that.
For God.
For Central. For State.
When life gets messy, make it sweet. Only Dirty Dough delivers maximum flavor from the inside-out layers, mix-ins, and gooey fillings. No filters, no fuss, just real cookies for real life. Every week, a rotating lineup of handcrafted flavors. Join the loyalty program, earn points on every purchase, redeem for free cookies, and get a cookie on your birthday. Dirty Dough, it's what's inside that counts.
And now, to the TKDS studios and your host, Jackson and Matt, for the Sports Now Update Show.
Jackson Lightcap alongside Jonathan Snyder as we welcome you back here to the TKDS Sports Friday Night Recap Show. John, we are coming to a close of hour number 1 on this show, and I think I lied. That sun has just stayed stagnant right there in the sky. It is still blinding. I tried taking the sunglasses off, and it is just still blinding. We need maybe another hour? Who knows at this point?
I'd be very surprised that again, like you said, it's like literally right there. I practically saw the sun in the reflection of your sunglasses throughout the entirety of that first hour segment. So it's a battle that you're going through. Trust me, I know. Oh, I wish it was not a battle you had to go through, but it is one that you are currently fighting right now. Especially, yeah, it's like literally right on top of you. So do what you have to do, man. I completely understand.
Once again, John, he'll have to leave for work today at 10 o'clock. He's got other prior duties with his work as well in Bluffton, Indiana. I will be here until 11, be doing the full show, but I'm here live at Central State University as they are getting set up for their homecoming day. Central State will kick off against Morehouse coming up later today at 1 o'clock, so looking forward to that one. I'll have the call alongside former DB coach here at Central State, Corey Owens, and former linebacker in the NFL, Curtis Grant. So looking forward to all of that. John, let's talk about the Miami Valley League. Within the Miami Valley League, Xenia takes down Fairborn 54-20. Piqua over Stebbins 30-6. Tippecanoe over Greenville 49-6. Troy beats Sydney 49-0. Butler over West Carrollton 38-0. John, in the Miami Valley League, we will have Tippecanoe and Troy playing next week. That is going to be for a conference title.
Yeah, and it's typical. If I could borrow a phrase from the combat sports landscape, typical styles make fights type of matchup. The second-ranked rushing offense in the entire MVL in Troy going up against the best rushing defense in the entire MVL in Tippecanoe. So looking forward to seeing how that matchup goes. And a Troy rushing offense that doesn't really have a bell cow in terms of their performance. You look at the rushing leaders, a lot of it, and Troy's not in the top 5. Aiden Kirkpatrick 6th on that list. But a lot of people really supplementing that performance. It's 673 from Kirkpatrick. Caden Franklin adding another 356 on the ground as well. So they're a team that really doesn't truly have a massive bell cow back, but they do it through a combination of everybody. They have a lot of people that can run the ball. They have a lot of different gaps they can run the ball into. So maybe not so much a guy who's going to jump out on the stat sheet and tell you that this is the guy you need to watch out for, but a mix of everybody that can run the football for 4 or 5 yards every single play. Eventually you have one guy that just breaks out and pulls off a 20 or a 10 or 20 yard gain. So, a Troy team that can share the load effectively, which keeps them all fresh for a lot longer. So that's going to be critical in seeing how this Tippecanoe defense can deal with a rushing attack that can stay locked in for as long as they can. And I could see this game going into the fourth quarter, and you could see Troy having fresher legs in that backfield. So looking forward to seeing how that matchup goes. And of course, Tippecanoe's offense, mainly based on the pass. Larkin Thomas is the leading passer in the MVL, over 1,500 yards. Will Strong, his primary threat, his primary buddy, a 931 yards receiving, almost 1,000-yard receiver in a 10-week season, which is really impressive to look at. So it's going to be a very, very, very fun matchup in general, just because of the implications of it. But you've also got a Tippecanoe defense that's trying to stop a Troy rushing attack that's been really, really rather incredible this entire year, and a Troy defense that now has to stop one of the best duos in the entire, I'd say in the entirety of the region, of Larkin Thomas and Will Strong, and much less in the entirety of the MVL.
John, in the Greater Western Ohio Conference, things are starting to sort out as Springfield blanks Beaver Creek 31-0. One more win for them. They will clinch at least a share with the GWAC title. They still have Northmont, who has not won a game this season in Week 10. They have Fairmont next week. Centerville blanking Northmont 31-0. Wayne beating Miamisburg, just able to edge them out 18-14. And Springboro gets a win over Fairmont 16-12. And John, I know that we've been hard on Springboro and the Panthers over the past couple of years, but to a point, stereotypes have to be true to a point. And Springboro, the past 4 or 5 years in this GWAC, have always been pretenders. They have never been contenders because they have never been able to beat a Centerville. They have never been able to beat a Wayne, a Springfield, a Fairmont. This win last night doesn't only give them the win and basically starts to solidify themselves a playoff team. I think that this win is a win that's going to propel them for years in the future because now they finally have been able to come up over their shortcomings and take down one of the top dogs in the GWAC in Fairmont. And that loss last night very well could effectively end all of Fairmont's postseason hopes as well. They have Springfield next week and then Beaver Creek. Fairmont's in a must-win out scenario with help around them. And also, keep in mind now, Centerville. 3 consecutive wins. They're right behind Fairmont. Centerville with an easier schedule to close out the year. They have Springboro next week, and then they're have another winnable game in Week 10. This is a Centerville team that if they get the help that they need, and I could see them win out, could they sneak into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think you have to consider that a possibility, but I also think it's going to be difficult for really Fairmont or Centerville in general just to make it, because you look at Joe Idle in Region 2, the way his rankings look, the playoff status column, there is a lot of teams with big blue letters on them that says control own destiny. 11 of the top 12 seeds have that distinction of being able to control their own destiny. Fairmont and Centerville do not have that. So they're going to need a lot of help to make up that now almost a 3-4 point gap to, I'd say it's more of a 3-point gap to Hilliard Davidson, who's currently sitting in that 12th spot. But like you mentioned, Springboro, this is again, as you mentioned, this is potentially a statement win for the entire program for years to come. Yes, Fairmont put up about 178 on the ground looking at the stat sheet here, but forcing 2 turnovers, an interception and a fumble recovery, that is a massive, massive defensive performance, especially being able to hold Fairmont out of the end zone and being able to take the ball away when it matters most. So that is a massive statement for Springboro's defense that I think needs to be highlighted a lot more, or going into these playoffs. They currently hold the 8th seed and could potentially find themselves, I think they do find themselves right now in a home playoff matchup to begin. And should things stay the way they are. So that's a win that hopefully that we can hope propels Springboro to that home playoff win, and hopefully see them move on and see what they could do when they have the opportunity for a playoff run. But like you mentioned, Fairmont and Centerville. Fairmont has a Springfield team that has likely, unless something crazy happens, which again, it's the GWAC, it could. That's another one of those conferences where you need the conspiracy board behind you to follow all the moving parts. But Springfield, the class of the conference so far, and a Beaver Creek squad whom should be a winnable game. Hey, if those results go the way I think they will, I think Springfield has a big advantage over Fairmont. I don't think that's enough for Fairmont to be able to win it, because you have to win out. That's the be all and end all of it. You have to win out if you're Fairmont. If you're Centerville, I'd also say you have to win out.
Yeah,
and you've
and
got
John, I think that really, if you kind of led me into my next point, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but you led me right into it. Fairmont and Centerville, there's still a shot. You just have to win out. And when you look ahead, Marysville, who's the 11th seed, the only team who doesn't control their own destiny, they don't have the toughest of opponents coming in. I'm already going to lock them in. I think 11 through 1 is going to be solidified as playoff teams. What I'm circling is that 12 seed. Can they sneak in? Hilliard-Davidson controls their own destiny. They hold it right now. But they have Olentangy Liberty, who's on a 5-game winning streak, and then Upper Arlington, who's 6-2 as well. Their last 2 games have a record combined of 11-5. I'm not saying Davidson can't win those games, but what I am saying is, will Davidson win? Those are 2 losable games for Davidson. If Davidson wins one of them, I think that they're in. If they lose both of them, I think then that opens the door for others. Look at the 13th seed, the first team out, Hilliard-Darby. They have Thomas Worthington and then Marysville. Marysville, a very tough team as well. If Marysville can get that win, even if Darby loses one of the next 2, now you're looking at Fairmont. If Fairmont wins out and everything I just happened above, I think that puts Fairmont in as the 12th seed. If Fairmont doesn't win out and Centerville wins out and everything I just mentioned above that, I think that puts Centerville in as the 12th seed. So there is still not a likely chance, but there's still that chance in Region 2 that Fairmont or Centerville is able to sneak into the 12th seed. They're going to need help. Davidson can't win again. They have 2 tough opponents, though. That's good news for the GWOC foes. And then Darby is going to have to lose one. They have Marysville. That's good news. The GWOC, you're just going to have to wait and see how it plays out, but they're not out yet.
Yeah, they're not out yet by any stretch of the imagination. I think these are 2 teams that Centerville, Springboro and Wayne. Wayne's a tough opponent, but that's a rivalry. Centerville always plays that pretty close. So that's another one where there's a reality where I could see Centerville winning out. For Fairmont, there's a reality where, that could win out as well. And that's just because of GWOC madness. We see that all the time. I think Springfield has a incredible team on paper, especially an incredible defense, and so I highly doubt that will happen. But still, 2 really, really talented squads, odds, and I'm looking at, in particular, Centerville. I think Centerville has a slightly better shot of winning out, just purely because Springfield's defense has been, on fire this entire year. But I think if Centerville can take it against Springboro, they're at home for that matchup next week. And again, it will come down to that Wayne matchup. I guess my next question is, I wonder how much Centerville would need to win these games by, because I feel like here's a question: if Centerville, if they're tight games, we're talking 1-score games, 3-point wins, whatever that may be for Centerville for both of those games. If they win those tight, and let's say Hilliard-Davidson loses close against Olentangy Liberty and Upper Arlington, do you think that does enough? Because that's a pretty, like I said, they've got a 3-point gap that they need to make up. Hilliard-Davidson has 7.9. Centerville is on 4.7. I'm not I could be wrong, and I'm not as knowledgeable of the scoring as you guys are. If those games go tight, if Centerville wins close, if Davidson loses close, do you think that's enough for Centerville to take that jump?
I think it will be. It'll be interesting. Of course, the Columbus schools, Davidson and Darby, the Hilliard schools, as a matter of fact, that's going to be really where it comes into play. Fairmont and Centerville, there's still that chance, but you have to do what you can control. One more loss, and you're going to be eliminated for good, especially if one of those Hilliard teams are able to continue to keep winning. John, real quick before we go to commercial break, let's try to squeeze in the GCL co-ed before we make that transition to the Cincinnati schools at the top of the new hour. Alter beats McNicholas 12-0, a shutout for the Knights. The Knights continuing their dominant streak. Baden over Carroll 55-6. Fenwick over CJ 36-14. John, we have Alter at Baden next week. That will determine the GCL Co-Ed Conference Championship.
Yeah, and those teams are that's always a fun week to look at because Baden and Alter tend to really play each other tough. Baden, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, actually Baden has had the lion's share of the rivalry recently. They've won it the past. I know for sure they've won it the past 2 times. I think they've actually won it the past 3 times. Looking at the history, at least the last 3 times. Baden has, but they've been some pretty close matchups. So it'll be an interesting thing to look at, especially with Baden's offense. I mean, you look at the GCL Co-Ed. I know there's not a lot of teams in there, but you look at the receiving stats and the rushing and passing leaders. It almost just looks like a kid in a candy store with all the weapons that Baden has. As their Colt Emerson, the leading passer in the GCL Co-Ed. And you've got Lem Grayson and Chase Evan, 2 of the top 5 leading rushers. Lem Grayson taking that crown by a long shot on 833 yards. In terms of receiving yards, James Brink with 393. Jordan Kreider in the top 5 as well. And it's actually, here's one thing to look at. You want to look at something really to look at in terms of like kid in a candy store. Take a look at the defensive statistics. 4 of the 5 sack leaders and 3 of the 4 interception leaders are all Baden Rams. So that is going to be a defense. That's a defense that is incredibly tough on the stat sheet. It may not entirely show up in terms of points scored, or there's still some games where they've given up 20 points. But again, it's not a defense that shuts out opponents like we've seen in some other conferences, but it's a defense that consistently holds its opponents to under 24 points. And I maybe at the high school level, it's a bit different, but I always say at the college and professional level, if you can hold a team under 24 points, you should be winning a game with a competent offense. So, and they consistently keep their opponents under that mark. So give credit to Baden for sure.
Absolutely. John, let's take a break. When we return, we'll shift focus on over to some of the Cincinnati schools, starting with the GCL South. That's all coming up next here on the Friday Night Recap Show.
This game just got bigger.
That's how we do it, fellas.
And better.
The energy is contagious.
Because we're back.
It's still a party here on HBCU Go.
And this season, it's about the grit.
Unbelievable.
The glory.
This conference, it's anybody's to take.
And the clash of champions.
Every game is our championship game.
The 2025 HBCU Go football season is coming this fall, only on HBCU Go.
In life, things aren't scripted.
If you're an athlete, we need people like you and translate those skills to officiating.
You can get a lot out of it.
It happens in every town, in every game.
We never have a perfect game, but the rewards always outweigh the negativities.
When every second counts and every drop matters, you don't settle for ordinary. You power up with Power Mist Racing Fuels. Trusted by champions, engineered for victory. From drag strips to dirt tracks, Power Mist delivers explosive performance, cleaner burns, and unmatched horsepower. Nitro, alcohol, methanol, gasoline blends. Whatever you race, we've got the fuel to ignite your edge. Power Mist Racing Fuels. Born to burn, built to win.
Looking to elevate your brand with quality custom printing? Red Ball Specialty Printing in Springfield, Ohio. Family owned and dedicated to attention, quality, and service. We customize everything from shirts, drinkware, pens, awards, and more. Whether 50 pieces or 5,000, we deliver color crisp, branding brilliant. From promotional apparel to recognition awards, we're your one-stop for impactful merchandise. Visit RBSPDesigns, Chipley.com, or call 937-215-0740 today. Red Ball, you think it, they ink it.
And now, to the TKDS studios and your host, Jackson and Matt, for the Sports Now Update Show.
Jackson Lightcap alongside Jonathan Snyder as we welcome you back here to the Friday Night Recap Show. We are at the top of the hour, 9 o'clock, and we're moving on to talk about some Cincinnati scores. Not much to talk about in the GCL South. Just St. Xavier beats LaSalle 28-7. Elder over Highlands, Kentucky 40-16. Moeller beats St. Ignatius 42-10. Keep in mind, Elder winning the GCL South, their first outright championship in about 17 years last week, toppling over Moeller and the Crusaders. There is a lot to talk about, though, in the Greater Miami Conference, John. Middletown over Mason, 37-7. Lakota West blank Sycamore, 56-0. We saw Lakota East beating Coleraine, 44-24. Hamilton beats Fairfield, keeping their postseason hopes alive. They win that one 14-7. And Princeton just able to sneak out a victory over Oak Hills. In fact, Oak Hills was up in that game going into the fourth quarter. Princeton had to put up 13 points in that fourth quarter to win.
And I say it a lot. Sometimes good teams find a way to win ugly, and that's what Princeton did. Like you mentioned, they're up. Oak Hills was up late in that game. Princeton ended up outscoring Oak Hills 13-7 in that final quarter order to be able to pull off the win. And so really impressive performance from not necessarily really the most impressive performance, but again, and a gutsy performance, I should say, from Princeton. But otherwise elsewhere, I think probably the big one that I was looking into throughout that whole slew of games that you said, Middletown over Mason. I remember we were talking Mason as a potential team that could be a trap game with how good they have played other teams throughout the conference and how close they've kept those games. Middletown went and just completely stomped on that narrative. A Middleton win was probably expected. I don't think I quite expected it to be like that. I didn't expect a 30-point wide margin of victory, but a really solid performance from Middletown, and as well as, like you mentioned, Hamilton, a team that I remember myself and Matt, we were talking about Hamilton. We were just waiting to see whether or not they could get it kickstarted, or whether or not they could get the wins rolling. And I'll tell you what, something that we never brought up, and I'm surprised we didn't. And a lot of these games, some of the games that at the midway point of the season, Lakota East, that's a one-score loss. Mason, that's another one-score loss. You look at a bounce that goes their way, one play that goes better for Hamilton, we could very well be talking, instead of a 2-6 squad, we could be talking 4-4, and we're more or less saying, okay, Hamilton's pretty much locked in now. But at this point, the Hamilton Big Blue, who for sure needing right now in the 11th spot, they don't have the control their own destiny tag yet on their on the Joe Idol's website in Region 4. However, it's a team that we were just kind of waiting for them to get a kick started. And again, a massive game coming up against Middletown. They're on the road for that one, 7-1 on Middletown they're playing. So if they manage to win that one, I think that would likely lock them in again, assuming that they would also beat Coleraine, who is 1-7 on the year. So a massive couple of games for Hamilton. And we've seen, again, like I said, we were waiting on them to get a kick started. We were waiting on Hamilton to kind of see if they could get the wheels spinning and get some traction going. Now they've got it in Fairfield. So let's see if Hamilton can potentially be a trap game for Middletown. I think Middletown has enough to win it, but Hamilton needs to win out if they want to keep their hopes alive. They're right at that 11th spot, and Western Hills is closing, especially with two games, especially with a game against an 0-8 Woodward for Western Hills coming up. That should get them some more points.
You know, John, one thing I want to mention is Hamilton, you've got to be excited that because going into yesterday, you were the 16 seed. Waking up today, you're the 11 seed in Region 4. This is a Hamilton team that we've talked about and have mentioned. They have a viable path to sneak themselves in. They've played close. They are not a 2-6 quality team. And in fact, even if they sneak in as a 12 or 11 seed, I would not want to be playing them in the first round of the postseason. In the Eastern Cincinnati Conference, Winton Woods over West Claremont 35-0. Anderson beats Walnut Hills 53-16. Kings plays Milford 49-14. Lebanon wins it in double overtime 41-38 over Turpin. And in fact, we'll talk about that game in just a couple of minutes. Loveland over Little Miami in quadruple overtime. 37-34. Yes, 4 overtimes. What an incredible night. Within the ECC, you have Winton Woods and Anderson next week. That'll be entertaining to see how that game goes. If there's going to be any other team to knock off Anderson in that ECC, it's got to be Winton Woods. Back to that Lebanon game, Luke Failer went down week 6 with an injury. We talked to the Lebanon head coach last week, Micah Failer. He mentioned Luke would be back this week for Turpin, and he comes back off injury and sets a new Lebanon High School record with 505 passing yards in the last night's match against Turpin. What a night for Failer.
Yeah, I don't think he had rust that game, which is always a concern when you're coming back from injury. I mean, just what a performance there. I mean, it's anytime you get a shootout type of game, and especially coming off of an injury, I think. And again, this is coming from someone that really hasn't played never got the opportunity to play football in high school. But when you're coming off of an injury, you're a little cold, haven't been throwing Owen for a bit. You want the defense to come out and give you all the support that they can. And unfortunately, Turpin was just a little too powerful for that, and it got forced into a shootout. And instead, they just go and completely, and you respond, Luke Failer responded with literally setting records, which coming off of an injury and having a and needing to keep up with a Turpin squad that was running with this game, and especially throughout the first quarter. Turpin went out to a 14-0 lead in that first quarter. Failer kept his poise, and just again had an incredible performance. That's one where you hope he got to keep the game ball or some type of memorabilia. That's one that he needs to stick in his trophy case. Hey, so that one's an incredible performance. So shout out to him. Really, really deserving of at least something from that game, some type of souvenir.
Let's go on to the Miami Valley Miami Valley Conference, before we go into our next break. Miami Valley Christian beats Laughlin 41-6. St. Bernard Elmwood Place over New Miami 44-0. Cincinnati Country Day beats Norwood 33-0. CHCA over Purcell Marion 42-12. Roger Bacon annihilating Summit Country Day 41-13. Roger Bacon, CHCA next week in our TKDS featured game of the week. And not only just that, but really a game that should decide a lot within the Miami Valley Conference. We're going to take a small break. When we return, we'll wrap up our scores for Cincinnati with the CHL, the SWAC, the CMAC, and the SBAAC. It's all coming up next. You're watching the Friday Night Recap Show powered by TKDS Sports.
The year was 1907. The Cubs won the World Series and the Ford Model R hit the assembly line. While here in Ohio, school administrators came together to form the Ohio High School Athletic Association. One thing that hasn't changed since 1907 is the dedication of the OHSAA to education-based athletics in Ohio. School sports teach responsibility, sportsmanship, and life lessons that stay with students long after their playing days are over. The OHSAA seeks to prepare students not for the next level of sport, but for the next level of life.
A restaurant that only serves chicken fingers was one man's and a dog's dream. They focused on the basics, and all that hard work paid off. Because Cane's puts the dine in dynasty, the yum in triumphant, the feast in undefeasted. This is Raising Cane's, and I'm Kirk Herbstreit, and I'm looking forward to serving you one heck of a chicken finger meal. Now, what can I get you, champ?
I'll take the box combo.
When life gets messy, make it sweet. Only Dirty Dough delivers maximum flavor from the inside-out layers, mix-ins, and gooey fillings. No filters, no fuss, just real cookies for real life. Every week, a rotating lineup of handcrafted flavors. Join the loyalty program, earn points on every purchase, redeem for free cookies, and get a cookie on your birthday. Dirty Dough, it's what's inside that counts.
Central State University is home.
On the way, all that. Yeah, it's my time. Who I'm gonna be when I'm in the limelight. Shining in the dark like I was a nightlight. It's my time, yeah. I went from the back to front, last to one. Future looking like man of us. We on the way, know that. We on the way, know that.
For God.
For Central. For State.
And now, to the TKDS studios and your host, Jackson and Matt for the Sports Now Update Show.
Jackson Lightcap alongside Jonathan Snyder as we welcome you back here to the TKDS Sports Network, the Friday Night Recap Show. John's with us until 10. We're live until 11. I'm live here at Central State University McPherson Stadium for homecoming as they're going to be kicking off against Morehouse College today on our sister station, the MarauderSports.tv for the Marauder Sports Network. That game kicks off at 1 o'clock, so make sure you tune in. Keep in mind also Wittenberg playing number 21, John Carroll, later today on the network. You can watch that one on our other sister station, TKDS, or I beg your pardon, TigerSportsNetwork.com. Let's go into the CHL. Indian Hill beats Madera 45-0. Merrimont over Reading 31-0. Wyoming beats Finneytown 49-13. Taylor over Deer Park 35-28. That conference has basically been all but decided. In the SWAC, we saw Trotwood take down Mount Healthy 34-0. And how about this? Harrison is going to be crowned your SWAC champs as they beat Talawanda, shut them out 14-0.
Yeah, really impressive performance from Harrison in that game. I mean, anytime, well, a game where conference title is on the line against a Talawanda squad that has put up a lot of points in its out-of-conference matchups. 45 on Eaton, 35 against Franklin, 49 against Carroll, 38 against Ross. Not exactly not the most extreme of out-of-conference schedules, but still some pretty solid teams in there. And Harrison goes out and just blanks them. A defensive performance that should give Harrison a lot of confidence going into, well, not only their next couple of games, but also I would argue going into their playoff run, because I'm pretty sure they would be locked in at this point unless something crazy happens these next two games. But again, a great defensive performance and some solid defensive performances throughout, but that's the type of defensive performance that gives everybody in the locker room a lot of confidence. It gives the defense a lot of confidence that they can go out and do something similar the next week. It gives the offense a lot of confidence that they don't have to worry about getting into a shootout or having to keep pace with other teams. That's going to be I could see that one being a very marquee win. And I can see coaches bringing up that win within their next couple of games and coming into the playoffs. I could see the coaching staff bringing up that win as to say, hey, this is what we can be. And we need to be able to perform at this level, and this is what we can do with that. So, really impressive performance from Harrison. So give all the credit to them.
Yeah, and John, talking about Harrison and how that team has gone so far this season, let's take a look real quick at Talawanda. Running the football, Talawanda, Lance Cantrell. He flew under the radar for some reason. We finally started to show him some love yesterday, or not yesterday, last week, on this show and on the network. The lowest amount of rushing yards he had in a game was 127. That came against Meadowdale back in week 2. Since then, John, he has put up 313, 212, 286, 174, 176. Last night, 59. A season low for Cantrell, only averaging 3.3 yards per carry after averaging 10.7 yards per carry all season long. You got to give kudos to the front seven for Harrison because once they made them one-dimensional, Talawanda lost the game.
Yeah, and that's something that, again, and you take one of the best running backs and one of the best running back performances that we've seen in the state this past week, or throughout this entire season, I should say. Hey, you take that guy and you manage to hold him to not a 59 yards off of, I think you mentioned it was 18 carries. That's 3.3 rushing average. That's a pedestrian stat line. To make a guy of his talent look like that is an incredible performance, especially like you said from that front seven, Evan. So give all the credit to them for making that happen.
John, let's go in and let's talk about the CMAC. Hughes beats Woodward 59-12. Taft over Western Hills 58-0. Withrow beats Aiken 45-6. And now, John, also on top of that, we're going to go into the SBAAC. Wilmington over Batavia 47-28. Bethel Tate beats Claremont Northeastern 41-7. Fayetteville Perry over East Clinton 16-13. Clinton Massey beats Goshen 38-13. Western Brown over New Richmond 42-14. And Williamsburg blanks Blanchester by a final score of 60-0. So again, SBAAC, Goshen losing to Clinton Massey. Clinton Massey still remaining on top. So a lot still to be played, though, in those two conferences.
Yeah, definitely a lot to play for. Western Brown still has Clinton Massey on their schedule, so we could see Western Brown fighting for a share of that title. And I know Western Brown hasn't had the season they would like. They're 2-6 right now. They're got 2-1 in the conference, but at least they have a shot. And at that point, I would find that locker room a very, very interesting place to be. I know you're 2-6, but you have an opportunity to still take a share of your conference. And I don't know exactly how you would prepare a locker room as a coaching staff for that, because it's going to be tough to forget the first 6 games of the season where you went winless. It's going to be tough to forget that, but you've got to find a way to somehow convince your guys to forget what happened at the early part of this year. It's a new part of the season he's in. It's a team that has, gelled together. It has had time to gel together through season to late season form. Ask for what. Find that a very interesting locker room to be in, just to see how that coaching staff is going to prepare that Broncos team to go out and try and win in this football game and potentially play spoiler, not just for the SBAC, but for their playoff hopes as well. Oh, I believe Western Brown is currently 18 seed, and they're about 4 points back for the 12 spot. So they would desperately need a win to keep their playoff hopes alive. But if they do so, suddenly you have to look at Western Brown, especially with Goshen coming up. If they manage to pull off the upset, Western Brown could have one just to the postseason that I think we would ever see with this 12-team format. So, I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. I unfortunately don't see it happening, but I do find it an interesting curiosity to look into.
We're going to take a small break. When we return, we're going to talk about the Joe Idle playoff points and the playoff picture for the Southwest regions of Ohio. That's all coming up next here on the Friday Night Recap Show.
Looking to elevate your brand with quality custom printing? Red Ball Specialty Printing in Springfield, Ohio. Family owned and dedicated to attention, quality, and service. We customize everything from shirts, drinkware, pens, awards, and more. Whether 50 pieces or 5,000, we deliver color crisp, branding brilliant. From promotional apparel to recognition awards, we're your one-stop for impactful merchandise. Visit rbspdesignschipley.com or call 937-215-0740 today. Red Ball, you think it, they ink it.
The year was 1907. The Cubs won the World Series and the Ford Model R hit the assembly line. While here in Ohio, school administrators came together to form the Ohio High School Athletic Association. One thing that hasn't changed since 1907 is the dedication of the OHSAA to education-based athletics in Ohio. School sports teach responsibility, sportsmanship, and life lessons that stay with students long after their playing days are over. The OHSAA seeks to prepare students not for the next level of sport, but for the next level of life.
I'm Kirk Herbstreit, and today I'm eating Raising Cane's.
Herbstreit's in the drive-thru again. Oh, hey, Kirk. What can I get you today?
I want a solid bench of 4 chicken fingers that are real difference makers. Crinkle-cut fries with dynamic ridge patterns, Texas toast, and cane sauce with an air of smugness that comes from knowing you're the best. Now back to you, Todd.
So the usual.
Make Raising Cane's part of your game day lineup. One love.
Central State University is home.
We on the way, all that. Yeah, it's my time. Who I'm gonna be when I'm in the limelight. Shining in the dark like I was a nightlight. It's my time, yeah. I went from the back to front, last to one. Future looking like man of us. We on the way, no doubt. We on the way, no doubt.
For God.
For Central. For State.
When life gets messy, make it sweet. Only Dirty Dough delivers maximum flavor from the inside-out layers, mix-ins, and gooey fillings. No filters, no fuss, just real cookies for real life. Every week, a rotating lineup of handcrafted flavors. Join the loyalty program, earn points on every purchase, redeem for free cookies, and get a cookie on your birthday. Dirty Dough, it's what's inside that counts.
This game just got bigger.
That's how we do it, fellas.
And better.
The energy is contagious.
Because we're back.
It's still a party here on HBCU Go.
And this season,
Touchdown.
It's about the grit.
Unbelievable.
The glory.
This conference is anybody's to take.
And the clash of champions.
Every game is our championship game.
The 2025 HBCU Go football season is coming this fall, only on HBCU Go.
And now, to the TKDS studios and your host, Jackson and Matt for the Sports Now Update Show.
Back here on the TKDS Sports Network, the Friday Night Recap Show. We welcome you back here to the network. And, John, let's go ahead and let's start talking about some playoff points, the Joe Idle playoff picture as well. We're starting all the way down in Region 28, just like last week. We'll go back and forth as long as that's okay with you. Division 7, the first couple of teams out, Mississinawa Valley. That's a heartbreaking defeat for them last night. They are currently on the outside looking in down to the 15 seed Riverside and Cedarville there as well. Currently in the playoffs, if the season were to end today, keep in mind we still have 2 weeks left to go. It is Manchester, Fort Recovery, Lehman Catholic, Ansonia as the 9 seed, Minster at 8, New Bremen taking a jump up to the 7th spot, Cincinnati College Prep Academy at the 6, Cincinnati Country Day at the 5, Notre Dame at the 4, St. Henry at the 3, Eastern from Beaver at the 2, and of course Marion Local at the 1. How about the jump that New Bremen and Minster both had with last night's wins?
Yeah, huge